The fact that humans are able to learn how to communicate using sound waves through the air and like characters on a piece of paper is kind of remarkable. And so, obviously, a lot of psychologists have asked the question, how do we do this? Like, how do we explain the fact that we have this ability to create language and communicate things that either don't exist in the real world or that we've never encountered? And so, first, one of the things that's kind of cool is that babies are able to pick up on syllables and sequences that are used more frequently than others. This is actually something that we aren't that great at as we get older. If you ever listen to a recording, for example, of a completely novel language, a lot of times it just sounds like a bunch of random noises jammed together, and it's hard to figure out where does one word stop and the other word begin. Infants seem to be much better at differentiating between that kind of stuff. So from a very early age, we're set up to receive language and then produce it, but some of that probably gets pruned out neurologically. Really famous psychologist by the name of Noam Chomsky has suggested that our ability to acquire language is something that's innate. That when you look at languages around the world, all languages seem to share, some basic elements. Maybe it's like nouns and verbs, but they're sort of like a universal grammar. And then maybe syntactically, we have a couple of ways that we differ. And so Chomsky theorized something called the language acquisition device, the LAD, which was this like theoretical construct that every human has within them an innate ability to pick up language and to learn the rules of grammar. However, we'd say that this probably is the type of thing that really relies on a critical period. A lot of the research suggests that we might have an innate ability to learn language, but there's a time in our lives when we're really able to capitalize on that. And if we're not exposed to language during that period of life, we're going to really struggle with acquiring it. And you have probably experienced this in your life if you've tried to pick up a second language later on, even past the age of like 10 or so. It becomes much more challenging. And so they have done studies, a lot of times case studies, and they find that individuals who are raised in relative isolation, who aren't really experiencing any sort of language, whether it's spoken or signed, by about the age of 7, will lose the ability to master any language. They might be able to learn, what certain words stand for, sort of almost like, think like your dog. Your dog understands commands, but we wouldn't necessarily say your dog understands language. Like the rules of grammar, your dog doesn't understand. So individuals who kind of miss this critical period of language formation, they might be able to be trained to learn what certain words mean, but they probably will never learn how to combine words in really meaningful and unique ways.